The fate of hundreds of thousands of Afghans living in Pakistan is hanging in the balance. The Pakistani government has set a deadline for tomorrow, November 1st, for all undocumented migrants to leave the country or face deportation. The ultimatum primarily affects Afghans. Some 1.7 million currently live in neighboring Pakistan without legal status. But with their homeland mired in conflict and its economy in tatters, going home entails grave risks and uncertainty.
At home with two of his children, Khabon Hamayoun's worries may appear far away. But like many other Afghan refugees in Pakistan, they're fully on his mind. The 33-year-old has lived here for 2 decades, but the government's crackdown on undocumented migrants is turning his life upside down. Today, he's taken part in a protest and is now queuing up at the UN's local office for refugee registration, hoping for a document that will enable him to stay here and not be sent back to Afghanistan.
These past several years, we were given assurances that we would not encounter any problems in Pakistan. But they've now started the process of expelling Afghans. That's why we are protesting. The owner of the house where I live has also warned us to leave. And if we don't, they will contact the local police. And then the police will take legal action against us.
Here in Islamabad, Hamayoun ekes out a living at a tandoor. He says the pay is hardly enough to feed his family, let alone fund a journey back to Afghanistan. But along with being evicted from his home, he's also losing this job, another consequence of the authorities' new policy. Millions of Afghans have made Pakistan their home in the past decades of instability in Afghanistan. But a country that was once a refuge has now become deeply inhospitable. Police in this neighbourhood are checking documents and arresting anyone without paperwork. The government claims its policy shift is due to high Afghan crime rates.
There is a general perception that illegal Afghans, and mostly some of them who are legally staying here, they have a role in certain crimes. And these crimes are mostly smuggling of the different products. In 2020, around 225 Afghan nationals were involved in serious crimes, which were apprehended and they were processed according to the law.
Abdul Khalik has lived in Pakistan for 16 years, but is now one of tens of thousands of undocumented Afghans who have taken the difficult decision to return to Afghanistan. For him, the pressure to leave became too much. His family borrowed money to hire trucks for the move, leaving them substantially in debt.
The family has hired this truck for 250,000 rupees. It will take us to Kabul. We have left the rest to Allah. Winter is ahead and we do not have warm clothes, shoes or a roof over our head. We are helpless and will face whatever Allah will do for us.
For this family heading back to Afghanistan, the road ahead is full of uncertainty, just as it is for those trying to remain in Pakistan.
Journalist Nosheen Abbas is in the Pakistani capital, Islamabad, and she told us more about Pakistan's justification for doing this.
Well, you know, there is a link in the minds of Pakistani citizens between smuggling and the drug trade with Afghans. But whether this link has a grain of truth or is broadly true is impossible to assess. Surely transnational crimes committed by Afghans, if any, would require support from Pakistani citizens as well in order to commit those crimes. The other link or perception in the minds of Pakistani citizens is that of Afghans and terrorism. So the government of Pakistan feels that the Pakistan Taliban are operating out of Afghanistan with impunity and perhaps even with the support of the Afghan Taliban now in power. To that end, undocumented refugees are viewed as a security risk which may harbor anti-state elements.
How many Afghans are in Pakistan right now? And tell us a little bit more about the reasons that they moved to Pakistan.
So there are approximately 4 million refugees in Pakistan from Afghanistan, and out of those, 1.7 million are undocumented. They moved to Pakistan in waves since the 1980s, since there have been successive civil wars and international conflicts in Afghanistan, with the Soviet invading in 1979 and then the Americans in 2002.
Right. So now, assuming not all Afghans heed the call to leave, Nosheen, what might happen to them?
So Afghans who do not heed the call to leave may be found forcefully ejected, at least according to the posturing by the state as of today. Whether doing this on such a large scale is feasible, we will have to see, since this is one of the largest refugee populations in the world.
But have they spoken about what exactly would happen to them, in the sense, would they be arrested, or what would happen?
Well, many have actually faced harassment from the police, from authorities. There's a lot of their assets have also been forcefully taken. So there is this posturing from the state that if they do not comply, then they would probably face arrestment or forceful expulsion.
All right, what do human rights groups and the United Nations have to say about the handling of these expulsions, or this plan against the Afghans who are in Pakistan?
So according to Human Rights Watch, they want Pakistan to drop the November 1st deportation deadline and work with UNHCR to resume registrations of Afghan asylum seekers. And they are hoping that Pakistan would work with them for the resettlement of the Afghans. But besides that, human rights groups have also talked about the huge emotional and mental toll that it has taken on the community, especially for those who have really never lived in Afghanistan. Pakistan is the only country that they've ever known. So there is a sense of loss. There's also a sense of losing one's identity and livelihood, not to mention the fear of returning to Afghanistan and what that would mean for their families.
Nosheen, politically within Pakistan, is there consensus that this is what should be done, or how are the different political parties approaching this?
Well, at the moment, there is a general consensus that those who are undocumented must return to Afghanistan. I think at the moment there is more outcry from human rights organizations, especially, and also Afghans who have been living here for generations, who have known nothing but Pakistan. So really, at the moment, it is really the human rights groups and the Afghans themselves who are really trying to talk about this and trying to get attention from the Pakistani government to let them find a way to resettle and find their way out of Pakistan to safer havens if possible.
For more on this, I'm joined now by Zia-ur-Rahman, a journalist in Karachi who's been following this story for us very closely. Zia, the deadline for undocumented migrants to leave Pakistan is fast approaching. Do we know how many Afghans have left the country now ahead of the deadline?
Yeah, thank you. According to Pakistan authorities, by yesterday, more than 100,000 people have been returned to Afghanistan to border crossing, Torkham and Chaman. And most of them are volunteer, and some of them are arrested and forcibly deported.
Give us a sense of the broader concerns that Afghans have as they face this dilemma of whether to stay or go.
Yeah, they have more concern because the policy announced abruptly. They said that government should give us at least 6 months because we are living here for decades. We have businesses. It is very hard to sell them on a fair price. So 3 months or 4 weeks, it was not enough time. So they are basically asking for more time. But we will see what happens after tomorrow, because government is showing that we will not change our policy, and we will launch a crackdown after November 1st.
Can you tell us why Pakistan is making this move now?
Yeah, so it is linked with the rise of terrorist attack in Pakistan after the fall of Kabul in August 2021, when Afghanistan Taliban captured Kabul. Islamabad believed that Afghan Taliban will expel the Pakistani Taliban militants from their soil, but it didn't happen. Then we have seen that a rise in cross-border attacks. In September, we have seen an attack in Chitral, a bordering town, in which TTP militants came into Pakistan territory. Then in the late September, we have seen a suicide bombing on a rally celebrating Prophet Muhammad's birthday. So after it, the Apex Committee, the country Apex Committee, which includes Pakistan civilian and military leadership, they decided to launch a crackdown on Afghan refugees because they believe that 14 suicide bombers out of 24, they were Afghan nationals. So, yes.
So we obviously, many Afghans have decided not to go, or they haven't gone yet. That deadline is going to expire tomorrow. What might happen to those Afghans who decide to try their luck and stay in Pakistan?
So, yeah, I talked to various Pakistani authorities. After November 1st, that means tomorrow, the Pakistani authorities launch a crackdown in different parts of the country. They will detain undocumented refugees and send them to the detention center they have formed across the country, and they will be forcibly deported to the Afghanistan. In second step, they will come to the people who have expired visa and these things. So I think, and still we have seen that landlords have started evicting undocumented refugees, and employers are not asking Afghan refugees to abandon their jobs. So already there are a sense of fear among the refugee community.
Zia, thank you very much for talking with us. That was Zia Ur Rahman talking to us from Karachi, a journalist.